All right. Welcome to our meeting of June 11th, regular meeting of the Lansing School Board of Education for June 11th, 2026. And we'll please stand for our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Trustee Strode, will you read our mission?
Of course I will. The mission of the Lansing School District is to provide a high-quality education in a culturally safe and nurturing environment that supports all students to live purposeful and fulfilling lives.
Thank you. Trustee Kavanaugh, can you read our land acknowledgement?
We collectively acknowledge that the Lansing School District occupies the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Anishinaabe Three Fires Confederacy of Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi peoples.
Thank you. I have a roll call, please.
Dr. Kavanaugh,
Present.
Dr. Hurd,
Present.
Ms. Lamia McKissick, Mesa Lopez,
Present.
Mrs. Moore, Mr. Novisky,
Present.
Dr. Rodriguez, Mrs. Strode,
Present.
Ms. Williams, quorum is present.
For the information of our public and our members, Trustee McKissick is ill today, is not feeling well, and Trustee Moore was also unable to come to this meeting tonight. So we'll move on to public comment on agenda items. We don't have any comment, okay. Approval of minutes. May I have a motion to approve minutes?
Mr.
Sir President, I make a motion that we approve the minutes as they are.
Moved and second. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions to the minutes? Here, no discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign if you're opposed. Motion carries. We're now to reports. Report from our superintendent, Ms. Benavides.
Good evening, everyone. My report this evening is really all about graduation. That was the best thing ever, in the most eloquent way that I can say that. The past weekend was one of the highlights, honestly, of the year for me. Of course, I was honored to be in the role of superintendent or interim superintendent at graduation. It is a wonderful thing that we're all there on stage cheering everyone on, but to be able to be there and actually connect with our graduates and be able to give a speech and connect with our families, it was an emotional moment for me, to be quite honest, because as you all know, this district means the world to me, and to be in a space with all of our community members really just celebrating our students was absolutely incredible. We celebrated 4 graduation ceremonies. I think some people around us forget that we have many high schools, not just one. We have Eastern High School, Everett High School, Sexton High School, and then of course we had a combined graduation with the Lansing Learning Hub in partnership with Capital Area Online. So it was wonderful to have 4 ceremonies this year and celebrate all of our students at the Breslin Center. The speeches were outstanding. The valedictorians and salutatorians were passionate, thoughtful. Their voices were incredible. In fact, one of the families, after each graduation, several of us walked around the parking lot of Breslin, greeted families, and talked to them and watched them celebrate, and it was a wonderful time. And I ran across the salutatorian's family at Eastern High School and said to the family, I'm really glad I did not have to follow his speech. He was incredible, and they all were. But the way that they spoke with passion, the thoughtfulness of how they used their voice and what they wanted to talk about, it wasn't your canned kind of speech that you see. I'm not going to say at other schools because I'm not comparative like that, because I will celebrate all kids no matter where you are. But I will say that it was our speeches were unique, and it was really speaking to their fellow classmates and encouraging them to just make the best choices they can and use their time that they have and really to follow their dreams. So I just have to give a shout out to all of the students because they put a lot of people to shame. It was fantastic. The other thing that I wanted to lift up were the ceremonies or the performances that we had during the ceremony. We had everything from solos to duets to electric guitar for staff members to singing, you name it. That graduation ceremony had it. That saxophone player went from like the 4th grade student, I'm sure squeaking and squawking like most saxophone players do, to Kenny G rivalry happening at the national anthem. So it's serious. I'm aging myself. I'm sure there's someone else out there that plays saxophone now, but that's who I know. You know, the songs they sang, the emotion that we had with the 2 young ladies that did the duet from Wicked, and they held their hands, and it was an experience. Yes, there was lots of tears happening. But the performances, I don't think we've seen performances like that. And every year I feel like they just get better and better. And I think the reason that impacted me so much was we talk a lot about rejuvenating the arts and how we're putting more time into the arts and how we're reaching into our middle schools. And I think it was wonderful for our community and our families to see that right there in action, not just talking about things, actually doing things. So celebrating our students, they're just phenomenal. I could take my whole report on this. I also wanted to talk about some new traditions that we had this year. One of them that I really want to lift up is having students decorate their graduation caps. First of all, thank you, board, for supporting that. I know many of you have been really excited about that initiative as well. So first, I want to say thank you to all of you. The thing that I want to really point out about the decoration of graduation caps is this, that started with our students. We had our senior class presidents. They actually set a meeting. I met with the president of Sexton. She had her notes. She was ready. She had met with the presidents of all of the other high schools. They had talking points, and she gave me all the reasons why they should be allowed to graduate or to decorate their caps. And, of course, the board I knew was 100% behind that, so that was an easy one. And they wrote a proposal. We had them put it together. They worked with our senior director, Mitch Foster. They put a whole guidelines. Everything you saw was student work, meaning they came up with the guidelines, the guardrails, the what should be, what shouldn't be, the how we're checking them, the timeline, everything. That was student-driven. They met with senior director, ran those guidelines by the principals to make sure they were okay with them, and then here we are to see these beautiful caps on graduation day. So again, that to me was so much more than just about decorating caps. It was about listening to student voice, having them create proposals, doing things they're going to do in the real world. And I think when students know that their voices are being listened to, they will use them. So again, I don't think that everybody sees the behind the scenes that happens in the Lansing School District. And I'm saying this to our students because when I meet with them, I always say, tell us, what do you need? What do you want to see changed? They have the best ideas, and I just love this board for standing behind our students and just being so enthusiastic about that, and our principals. So kudos to all of you on that. And those hats were beautiful. I mean, we're going to talk about the multicultural initiative that we're having, that we're working on, our multicultural learning environments. That was quintessential to see them have their own sense of identity, just their sense of belonging, all the things that just let our students shine through. It was just so fun to see. Another thing that I wanted to lift up was that all of our board members were there. I think that that's something that if you watch graduations or you attend other districts' graduations, that doesn't always happen. So we kind of have a saying of stronger of 10, right? There's 9 of us and 1 of me. And you were all there. All of our executive team members were there. And I think that just shows that we're united to making sure that we're celebrating our students, committed to the mission of our school district. And it's just a joy to work with such talented people, such as the executive team, the board, to celebrate our kids. It showed that we're unified and that we're there to celebrate. One of the most important days, I think, in a student's life is graduation. Another tradition that I wanted to lift up was something that has honestly been bothering me for quite a long time. to be quite honest. As executive team, I've been lucky enough to be able to sit on the seats and the stage and watch our students walk by. And having been a former teacher in the school district, I always wondered why our teachers were not on stage. And for me, having that, I always feel like my teacher hat's always my first hat. It just really bothered me. Those are the people that our kids know. Those are the people that nudge our students, encourage our students, talk to our students, give them the time before, after school, during lunch, grade their papers, contact their parents. They do all of the things. They needed to be on that stage for two reasons. One, because then they can have a front row seat to the work that they have been working on. But second, it's a place of honor to be on that stage, to know that this celebration was just as much about them as it was our students. And so I was really happy that we could start that tradition this year with honoring our staff and having them on stage. So again, thank you to all of you that helped to make that happen. And then last but not least, I would like to say that I had a couple of checkoffs this year, and I don't know how it just Kismet, I guess, put me in the seat as interim superintendent so I could make sure those things happen. So we had graduation hats, so we could check that one off. We had teachers on stage, we could check that one off. We had Capital Area Online and the Learning Hub at Breslin, check that one off. Amazing. The last one, though, pet peeve, was that we had two high schools with the same exact color robes. I know it seems odd that I'm even lifting this, but when we had Sexton and Everett both in red robes, you would see pamphlets or things go out, or even when we had decorated the catabuses, I don't know if you remember that, with our graduating students, and people didn't know, are those Everett students or are those Sexton students? And so that was another hope and dream of mine that I felt came true, and that's another voice of students and of administration. That was not something that we went and said, you're going to wear baby blue. We asked them, is this something you want to do? And they were so excited about it. And let me tell you, when I heard comments from people, those were on fire, those look great, it was just really wonderful to hear and see that we have pictures now, and I can tell you exactly what school that child went to and graduated from, because the robes at each of our schools are now uniquely theirs. So really excited that we were able to make very quick changes, but I'm just proud of the fact that it honored people, it honored voice, and I think that's what this school district is all about. That's the direction we're heading in. The other last thing I'd like to say is just how much there was an overwhelming sense of pride to be able to be in that space. It wasn't about the Breslin, though I am an MSU grad, so that's really exciting because there's no way that I was ever going to play basketball in that space. But I certainly felt like standing in that space and feeling our community, and I know it was part of my speech, standing behind our students means the world. If you were able to see those students' faces as they heard the community cheer for them and say their name and clap, that is the exact energy we need in this district 24/7, 365 days a year. And so we're going to grab that energy and we're going to run with it, and we are going to have parent involvement in this district like we've never seen it before. It's not about the big things. Graduation is a big thing, but it's about how are we inviting people in? How are we having conversations? What are the big and small ways that parents can be involved to celebrate their students and be involved in the culture of Lansing? And I think graduation, if you didn't think our parents wanted to be involved or our community wanted to be involved, you just had to come to Breslin on Saturday. It was incredible. So again, it was truly a proud to be LSD moment. If you ever have the opportunity, audience, to go to a graduation, please attend. You are going to be wowed, amazed. It's spectacular. You will leave with a tissue in your pocket and goosebumps on your arms. It is an incredible day to be there with all of you, and I'm just really incredibly proud to be able to be a part of that. So that concludes my report.
What is this, proud to be?
Yeah, proud to be
LSD.
There it is.
Thank you, Superintendent. So now we'll go to presentations, and we have the Multicultural Task Force.
Back on again. Sorry about that, guys. I'm actually going to join the team for the Multicultural Task Force. It was really been an honor to be able to be a part of that process as Deputy Superintendent, and so I'll be joining the table to kind of talk about that work. And I will be asking members of the audience, and I'm not going to pre-introduce them because I'm going to let our Deputy Superintendent Sergio Keck do that so you can get to know who's at the table. But it's really an honor to be able to talk about the Multicultural Learning Environment Initiative here in the Lansing School District. I will say I need to redact the word initiative because it's not that. This is part of the culture and environment, and if my co-chair were here, Dr. Ruben Martinez, he would give me that nudge and say it's not an initiative. And it's not, because initiatives mean that they could go away, right? Mm-hmm. It's not the right leader, the right time, there's rollover. This is something that we truly believe in from the very heart of the Lansing School District. So super excited to give this presentation to all of you this evening.
Okay. So, Mr. Keck, Dr. Nami, Dr. O'Neill, Ms. Brewer, and Ms. Cabrera Rodriguez. And Jessica Benavides.
Okay, I was wondering if that's why that was hovering.
Everybody good? All right, Sergio, I would like to start with you. I know our board president did give the names of the people at the table, but if you can introduce them and let them know all of the amazing things that they do. Maybe not all of them, we don't have that kind of time, but some of the amazing things they do in the Lansing School District, that'd be great.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening to the public. Good evening to the Board of Education. Is this working? Okay. Well, we have a wonderful table full of great educators to my left, to my right, and I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves and say who they are. Okay.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Ferguson, and I work for the bilingual department.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Sarah O'Neill, and I am the Director of Continuous Improvement.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Namey. I'm the Director of Special Populations.
Good evening. Tanya Brewer, Senior Director of Special Education.
Good evening. Claudia Cabrera Rodriguez, Executive Assistant for the Special Populations Division.
We're going to talk tonight about Many Cultures, One Community. I want to point out that the title of this slide was actually named by the Multicultural Task Force. They felt that there needed to be some type of wording that went along with this so that when people could see Many Cultures, One Community, they knew exactly what the Multicultural Learning Environment Initiative is about. Maybe I'm going the wrong way. There we go. All right, why are we here today? So we are here today to reintroduce the multicultural learning environments. We're going to talk a little bit about the Multicultural Task Force, how it was formed, who was on the committee. We're going to talk about the planning that happened, and then we will also talk about what we are doing to look ahead the next couple of years for the task force and the initiatives that are going to be taking place in the district. I'm going to turn this over to Claudia to share who we are.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here today. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is a visual of our beautiful, diverse student population who we serve in our district. This is one of the many things that makes Lansing School District so special. So before I kind of just overview what we're seeing, I did want to share the source of this information. The numbers are pulled from our Synergy platform, and this system has something called the state ethnic codes embedded in it. And so what you're seeing is the options that people have when they're enrolling to identify their student. So that's where those sections are coming from. And some of the information about the multilingual learners and special education came from our weekly update document that is reported by our directors. So I won't be going over each group, but I will say that in the middle you can see we have a student count of 10,772. This does include students pre-K through adult education. So this means you're looking at preschool students all the way through adults completing their GED or enrolled in English language development courses. In addition, you will notice that the percentages and the numbers do not add up to the whole. This is because of the intersectionality and the multicultural identity of a lot of our students. So there are many students that check off the box for various ethnic or racial groups. Okay, and of these students, 1,603 are multilingual learners. Also, out of our 10,772 students, 2,355 of them are special education students.
Okay. When our previous superintendent was here, he kind of nudged me and said, hey, can you help me run this multicultural task force? And the multicultural task force was a resolution that was passed by our Board of Education in the fall of '23. And we will show you the resolution coming up here in just a minute so everyone can see what that is. After the resolution was formed, then I was asked to help run the multicultural task force, and that was in school year 23-24. The task force was charged in '24 to begin the work creating a long-term plan. I was really lucky to be able to work with two wonderful co-chairs, which I'll tell you a little bit more in just a few minutes, just kind of going through the timeline. After the plan was developed the last school year, then that was given to our deputy superintendent and a team of people to then implement that plan. And so this was marked year one of the multicultural plan that is moving forward in the Lansing School District. You're also going to see this evening kind of what is going to be happening during year two and time forward. Deputy Superintendent, did you want to add anything to the last two items?
Just to the 2025-26 school year, as you mentioned, Superintendent Benavides, the implementation plan was given and assigned to the Special Populations Department. I'm happy to report that this team met recently with these two wonderful people, Dr. Martinez and Mr. Evans, and they were very excited about the understanding of the initiative or the understanding of how much we're learning, how much we're doing for year one, and very excited about how we're setting up for year two. So they also offer the assistance in the future, so any collaboration, the doors are open for both experts in this field to come back and work with us anytime that we would like to do so.
Mm-hmm. The multicultural learning environments that we're talking about are a branch of our equity committee. So how this works is, I know that we have a board member in charge of the carrying on of our equity work. This is an arm of that. So this is a branch of this. So as we are working through these initiatives, this will funnel back through the equity committee to make sure that this work is supporting the work of the board and that committee that we currently have. So on the screen ahead of you, you can see the board resolution. I think that this is important for everyone to know where this began and the wording that it has. So the resolution was, therefore be it resolved that the board authorizes the formation of a multicultural initiative task force by the superintendent comprised of experts to develop and design the multicultural initiative by October 17th, 2024. And that when implemented, achieves a multicultural learning environment throughout the district. And we're going to describe what that exactly means. So hopefully you'll all be experts to understand the multicultural learning environment when we're through this evening. This is the area that I was tasked as a deputy superintendent, and I had the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience to work with two very talented co-chairs. The co-chairs are here on this slide. We have Dr. Ruben Martinez, and he helped us really to craft and author and put together much of the initial planning and template. He's quite skilled at that. I'll tell you a little bit about Dr. Martinez. One, he has a wonderful daughter that works for the school district, Clara Martinez, who's a dance teacher. I don't know if anyone knows that connection, but we're really proud to have her on staff as well. But he is a professor of sociology emeritus and was a director of the Julian Samora Research Institute at Michigan State University. His research interests include neoliberalism and Latinos and diverse leadership in higher education, institutional and societal change, education in ethno-racial minorities and youth development, Latino labor and entrepreneurship, and environmental justice. Dr. Martinez is also the editor of the Latinos in the United States book series with the Michigan State University Press, and he has numerous publications, 3 of which he has co-authored books. But he is really an expert in the area of multiculturalism and has a quite extensive network of people, even throughout really the world that he works with. So he was wonderful to have on this committee and bring his perspective. And then we had the wonderful Carlton Evans. He also was one of the original members on the during the equity audit and equity team. So it was wonderful to have him on there because I felt like he could bring those 2 initiatives close together and kind of remind us why we were there. He kind of kept us grounded in our purpose, and so he was a wonderful addition to have as a co-chair as well. Mr. Evans is an experienced consultant with a demonstrated history of working on social justice issues, particularly health equity and racism. Skilled in nonprofit organizations, conflict resolution, facilitation, and report writing. He's a strong consulting professional with a bachelor's degree focused actually on microbiology, believe it or not, from Michigan State University. These 2 gentlemen were completely committed to the task force. And when I say that, we met bi-weekly, every other week, to discuss how we were going to plan for the committee, and then we would meet as a committee, and then we'd plan, and then we'd meet. And they drafted many different versions of this task force until we felt like we got it just right to be able to pass off for implementation. I also want to credit these 2 individuals and our task force members, which are actually on the next slide. Wonderful. We had diverse people in our group. We had everything from teachers to community members to people who are in the political arena. Justin Sheehan at the time was in charge of our promise. So we had instructional assistants, we had board members. And of course, last but certainly not least, we had even a student representative on the task force. And these were people that were really instrumental in taking things back to their groups of people. For example, we had Kristen Smallgrime. She's very active with LSEA, which is, of course, is our teachers union. And she went back to their rep meetings and talked about the multicultural task force, got their opinions, and spread the word through the teaching ranks. And Jesus Gonzalez-Torres, he was very active with the junior board. And he brought that back to junior board and got student voice, and we had several other teachers, and we had parents on this committee as well. So we felt like the task force really had a diverse group of people that could come from many different angles to help us. The committee, because it met so often, I think some people were a little afraid of that kind of commitment. So though we were hoping for even more people than 9, these were very committed people that were there at almost every single meeting. So really proud of the task force members that we had on the team. The guiding framework that we used was James A. Banks, which is the levels of multiculturalism. A lot of people think of him as kind of the father of multiculturalism, and so to be able to follow his work and be able to make sure that we're utilizing those strengths that he has already emphasized in the work that he's done was really the framework that we used to develop the initial plan. One of the things I want to highlight about this is emphasizing that multicultural education is not an add-on. I think this is really incredibly important to understand why, as a school district, or why the board felt that this was an important thing to put into this. You're going to see that the first parts of Dr. Banks's work is, you're okay. We're competing with our, the first one was our contributions approach. This is the things that you see in schools very often, right? Heroes, holidays, celebrations, all of the things. But that is really the entryway to this type of work. What we want to emphasize about that, though, is the hope is that you get to stage 4, where you have social action, and that students are really informed about the culture that they live in. They are feeling that they have a sense of belonging, a sense of identity, a group of people that they can identify with. and then they use their voices to be able to emphasize and impact the society that we live in. The other reason that this is really important and why it's a multicultural learning environment is because one of the major things is to be able to look at our curriculum and look at what are we putting in front of students, and are we really meeting the needs of all of our students to make sure that they feel a sense of belonging, because history is everyone's, right? But not always are history books everyone's. And so thinking about the ways in which our curriculum either supports or doesn't support this is going to be a really critical part of over this 4-year framework. And so this was the work that we began with, and of course you'll learn that this work was actually expanded to other researchers and other professionals in their field as we go through this presentation tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Jessica. Thank you for all the good work you did on this with your co-chairs, because we are in our tasks to implement it, but the foundation was created. As the torch was passed on to us, we focus on an effort in learning, understanding, and meeting our first year's goals. We know that the Equity Committee also did a lot of work and laid the foundation for us to be able to move this forward. We hope to expand as we continue to grow by identifying existing curriculums, community partnerships, and staff and student voices. The interesting part of the first year, which is a contribution approach called Heroes, Holidays, and Cultural Events, other researchers and other people said the first year of multicultural is the 3 Fs: food, flags, and fun. But it's another way of introducing the concept into our children and staff. Dr. O'Neill.
Good evening. This slide just talks about how we have gotten more efficient and expanded listening to our community through staff, student, community voice. In the winter of 2022, we did an extensive voice collection through the Lansing Systemic Equity Review. And so it went beyond a survey to focus groups and some observations and some individual interviews. Since then, we've kept that best practice up through the multicultural inventory, which was the fall of 24, year 0. And we continue today through the large-scale Great Schools survey that we just recently took. The data that you see today will be that survey from 24-25, because the brand new data hasn't been all the way compiled yet. There are consistencies throughout, over years, across years, and through different surveys. The key takeaways that we continue to find and we're addressing through this initiative is sense of belonging. It varies across student groups. It varies between schools. Desire for representation, affirmation, and cultural visibility, particularly in our curricular tools. And then the need for consistent district-wide approaches. So we are being much more intentional. You will see later in the presentation of how we are systematizing this work and making sure that we are building in measurable goals and monitoring practices so that we can report back on not just the artifacts, but the evidence of impact.
Okay, so we're gonna play with our data. And we're going to invite you to participate. So this is now going to be an engagement piece. So the web address is real easy if you want to just enter that in manually, or you can use the camera on your phone to join using the QR code. And I'll give a few moments for folks to do that by doing it myself so that I can play right along with you.
Some of the questions we get with Menti, you do not need to create your own account. You just need to enter that code and it will bring you right to it.
All right, you should see a green arrow that says you're all set, and you're just waiting for your presenter, which would be me. You're waiting for me. All right, so we are gonna answer this question as we feel, so as you feel this question applies to the school district. Go ahead and provide one of the 4 answers.
And submit.
What's really fun is you can see as it's happening in real time.
Yep.
Yeah, looks like we have 24.
The instructional division uses this app all of the time live as part of a team building activity and to build transparency and communication. And so whenever you are working around a problem of practice or you're increasing to the next level, it's great for staff to see live how the rest of their peers feel and where maybe the gaps are or where to prioritize.
All right.
Before you move along, I have a question. I'm noticing there's more numbers than participants. Are we testing this data that is already pre-existing to add to these questions, or is this just the people in this room right now?
Just the people in this room right now. A few of us joined as well.
Perfect. So 19 and 25 responded from this room currently. Thank you.
And actually, if this is being broadcast live, anybody out in the wilderness could also be doing this with us as well. Welcome, friends. All right, well, there looks to be 6 of us that are afraid of that submit button, but that is okay. We're going to forge ahead. And some likes. So,
Very motivating. You can do that too. I love it.
Yay! So the reason we did this is so that we could kind of compare visually what we in the room see and then what the data showed from our students. So this was the feedback from our students. There was a sample of 6,329 students, and I believe it was grades 6 through 12, so accounting for literacy and et al. This question was posed to them, and this is how our students in middle school and high school responded, which is maps pretty closely to what we see. It's a little step there, but there's obviously work to still be done. So we're going to do this again one more time. We're going to ask another question of you, and so you now have the opportunity, and you should still be logged right in there to answer yet another question. And these are completely anonymous, and there's actually no way for us to even know on the back end who says what. So if that might improve our submit rate. Fully anonymous, everyone. All right, I'll give it just a moment more. Thanks for the thumbs up. It's highly motivating. All right. So compared to what our students surveyed, which this was a slightly larger pool of 6,344. But as you can see, the strongest one yet again is agree. But there is a much larger disagree. This is a more steady climb this time. So we can go back and see what we thought. And that's how our students felt. Again, these were middle school and high school students that were surveyed. We're going to do this one more time with one final question. So our last question. I am presented with positive images of people from a variety of races, ethnicities, cultures, and backgrounds. And I apologize, I just realized I didn't read the previous question. So when we did this with the professional development for staff, they did not have a printout that showed them the student results ahead of time. So it was a little bit more fun to surprise them with the comparison. And we were pulling from a much larger pool as we worked with all of our staff across the district. So we had several hundred folks actively engaging with us. But it was interesting to see because it mapped quite closely to what our students said. So our students said this. It was mostly agree. Yeah, this is our highest percentage for agree. And I recognize feeling strongly is sometimes something no one wants to do in a survey, so. But this survey, was 6,157, once again, middle school and high school students. So, but thank you so much for playing along with us. We did, one of the other activities we did, and we just wanted to share the results because they were quite beautiful. But one of the questions we asked during our professional development a few months ago was, what word comes to mind when you hear culture? And we surveyed, unfortunately, the numbers on the slide are obscured by the current numbers of engagement, but this was over 500 responses came in from our staff across the district. And it created a word cloud. And for those of you unfamiliar with how this data is visualized, the size of the word is determined by how many people use that same instance. So the very, very tiny words are often single instances, and then the larger they become, it is representative of duplication of responses. So the most common response was community. So I do think that that is a powerful reflection of the Lansing School District. I'm going to now pass it back over to Dr. Namey, who is going to take us through some of our guiding frameworks.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you all for participating in our survey. I'm just going to briefly go over some of the foundational theories that we use to help inform a lot of how we decided to move this committee forward. We are beginning, of course, with Dr. Banks and his understanding of the foundational work focused on moving beyond celebrating just diversity and instead embed it within curriculum, instruction, school culture, and policy. He himself is a specialist in social studies education, multicultural education, and diversity and citizenship, and has written widely within the field. He believes that certain components help school foster inclusivity, challenge bias, promote cultural understanding, and ensure that students from all backgrounds feel valued, represented, and prepared to participate in a democratic society. We can go on to the next one. Okay, thank you. He introduces the 4 levels of integration, and within this framework, it's focused on very surface level inclusion through level 1 all the way through really hoping to move from just service level into transformative learning experiences. So in level 1, the contributions approach, really this is focused on celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, honoring Dr. Martin Luther King during Black History Month, recognizing Native American Heritage Month. It's truly just the basic introduction into understanding culture. Level 2 moves up in trying to embed some of this content into existing curriculum without changing its structure. So things like adding a novel by a diverse author, including lessons about indigenous contributions to science or math, studying different countries and cultures during a social studies unit. Level 3 is the transformation approach, and this really moves us into analyzing historical events through multiple viewpoints, exploring immigration experiences from different cultural perspectives, and really starting to dig into understanding various lenses. And then finally, the level 4 is the social action approach. And this is focused on students conducting research on equity issues within their own school, or organizing community service projects, advocating for causes that are important to them. And really what this helps us do is to think about how to, yes, identify the celebrations, but also move toward transformative learning. If Dr. Banks was the godfather of that work, Gloria Latson-Billings is the godmother. And she really informed a lot of my own work when I was working on my dissertation. And so she is truly, foundational to the work that I've done, and I believe in the work that she has moved forward. She's focused on introducing culturally relevant pedagogy, and her research emphasizes the effects teaching that goes beyond just delivering content, but requires educators to connect learning to students' cultural backgrounds, experiences, and identities. Latson-Billings argues that all students can achieve academic success when instruction is rigorous, culturally meaningful, and built upon strong teacher-student relationships. In classrooms, this can look like selecting text, but one of the examples that she had given was to say, if you're introducing, let's say, fractions, it's possible to bring on, the parent who makes the best, who makes the best pie, and she had said like sweet potato pie, to come into the classroom and introduce cooking from the perspective of a culturally relevant dish, and introduce the understanding of fractions from the lens of cooking and culture. And so she really opens up the idea of connecting the content that's being delivered into cultural experiences and lived experiences of the students that are in the classroom. And then we can move to Dr. O'Neill.
Dr. Mohammed was built off Latson-Billings, which was her idol. And she is the author of the Historically Responsive Literacy Framework. It comes from her book, Cultivating Genius. This is a text that we provide for all of our new onboarding teachers, and we use it on our community bus tour, which I will talk more about. But what is so exciting about this framework and the work that we have done with teacher groups is it's not an additional thing to do, it's a framework to filter our curricular tool through. So by some simple tweaks in our curricular tool, such as layering small short pieces of text and visual videos to get more perspective and to address more intersectionality of identity, you've thus bolstered your lesson. She talks a lot about making sure we are not just teaching skills, but that we are addressing identity, criticality, and intellect. It's not just do you know the information, but how do you apply it, and how do we build you as a leader with this knowledge? This was intentional to connect past work to the task force's goals for the next few years. So what we did is we took all three frameworks and the research behind them, and we conducted a crosswalk. Using the tool, the NYU's tool, which is called the CRSE District Self-Assessment, Culturally Responsive Sustaining Education District Self-Assessment, we looked at what categories in that aligned with the goals of the task force. And what we found is student-centered, welcoming and affirming environment, high expectations and rigorous instruction, ongoing learning to support and build professional staff capacity, and family and community ties. Once we had those categories taken from the district self-assessment, then we filtered each framework through that to see where there were commonalities. And that connected the work for especially teachers so that it did not feel like something different. It connected to what we were already getting better at and improving. All three frameworks that we just talked about emphasize belonging as a prerequisite for learning. Students learn best when their identities, languages, experiences, and perspectives are welcomed, affirmed, and reflected in the school environment. And if not in the curricular tools, then also brought in a different way. All three frameworks move beyond representation to meaningful participation. All three agree that inclusion is not just about displays and celebrations. Students should see themselves valued as contributors whose voices, cultures, and experiences are connected to learning and school life, and then the larger community, both locally and worldwide. Lastly, all three connect belonging to high expectations and student success. Our relationships are number one, but unless we use that relationship to raise the rigor, then it's just a relationship. And so all three frameworks have the goal that is not simply recognition, but creating learning environments where every student feels seen, challenged, supported, and empowered to reach high-level goals. Dr. Namey?
So the year one focus, and what does this look like in our schools? I think that so much of it is already being done. So if the focus was on celebrating cultures, historical figures, traditions, and language, many of our schools do this already. For example, Luton celebrates Hispanic Heritage Month with a family night celebration. Gardner, Newcomer, Welcome Center have welcoming signage in various languages. Everett has a student art show that is reflective of student personal narratives and visuals that are reflective of their diverse experiences. So again, this is not a new initiative layered on top of people's work. It's just a way of naming, aligning, and strengthening what may already exist with our staff and with our students. The 4 areas of focus that we focus on this year included communication. One of the great things that we had access to was something called Parent Square that some of you might be aware of. But communication allowed for us through Parent View to provide district updates, school newsletters, information, and so that Parent Square had the ability to have a built-in translation feature, which allowed parents to communicate and understand with the school district in ways that oftentimes they didn't before, because it would automatically land on a cell phone and had the ability to do embedded translations. For professional learning, we utilized our professional development day to share the vision, rationale, and continued implementation of this work, helping staff understand their role in creating inclusive learning environments within their own classrooms. Within our curriculum efforts, we had the ability to review instructional materials and supplemental resources that ensure students have opportunities to see themselves reflected in what they're reading and learning. For example, high school English novel adoptions this year included anchor texts such as House on Mango Street, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and Like a Hummingbird. And so these were opportunities for students to start to explore diverse texts. And finally, the physical environment was with the multilingual signage that we have throughout the district, culturally representative visuals, student work displays, and other welcoming features that help students and families feel seen and connected with their school community.
I would like you to concentrate on the bottom left of this graphic. I'm also blessed enough to co-chair the PLC implementation, Professional Learning Communities. And if you're not familiar with it, it is a process, a way of life. It is not an initiative. It's a culture shift, which we have across years understood that we do need to shift mindset, and we need to provide supports to adults on all different levels if they do need assistance in shifting mindsets. The professional learning community at work culture focuses on 2 big things: a focus on learning and building a collaborative culture. Teams of teachers, whether it's a grade level or it is a content area, or sometimes in the high school we call them singletons, which are, there's only one teacher in that content area, but all the singletons get together. The arts is a good example. They come together and they ask 4 questions, which I'll get into later. And the idea is to build collective efficacy, which means teachers are in the field examining student work and determining who's learning, who's not learning, how are they going to address it if they are not learning, and how are we going to extend those that are already proficient. We know from Hattie's research that collective efficacy has an effect size that is three times faster than a teacher working in isolation. So we know that teaming and coaching teams is going to get us to our goal of increasing student achievement more efficiently and help it to be sustainable. And so we've had a whole year of training, and we will continue that, and I can talk a little later about how we will make sure that it's sustainable. Yep. What we have focused with the District Guiding Coalition, which is a team that I lead of leaders across departments, across union levels, to plan for this work, the PLC at Work culture shift. One thing that we've noticed in the field is that we need to continually communicate that this is not one more thing, this is not additional, this is not separate from what we have already been working on. The Multicultural Task Force is bridging this with us to help for our stakeholders to understand. And so there's some questions listed up there on how we can, by simply asking a couple different questions or organizing the data differently, make sure that we're addressing the 4 questions, but also students' identities and their voice around what they would like to learn and what perspectives that we're missing. And so we will continue training with that to align the 2 PLCs and the goals of the Multicultural Task Force. And those are some of the texts that we have been training with and continue to train with.
Good evening, everybody. So this particular slide is about the Lansing Black Educator and Administrator Coalition. And this is to ensure that the staff, teachers, administrators within the district that identify as Black, that serve our students, also have an equally affirming experience. One of the things that I've learned throughout research regarding recruitment and retention, while many think that it is salary that keeps individuals employed in K-12, it is actually more about support and environments that really are culturally affirming and encourage them and build pipelines. And affinity groups is one of those ways. It is actually a proven strategy related to recruitment and retention. And so we actually sent out a survey to all staff to see who would be interested, and 73 individuals responded saying, yes, very interested. We reached out to them, and we've had our inaugural meetings in March. So we had one for educators, March 11th, one for administrators, March 18th, and then a collaborative session in May. And then we plan to have a summer kind of meet and greet type of thing, and then a September kickoff. The idea behind these affinity groups is to really share perspectives and experiences across these different groups of individuals, but then also make sure that we are providing the appropriate amount of support and professional development in any area that they have identified a need. Right? And so looking at building that leadership capacity and those professional growth opportunities, but also continuing to sustain a safe and inclusive school environment for all, including our teachers and administrators. And then obviously promoting that equity, advocacy, and that student success. The conversations have truly been enlightening. I've learned a lot of history and a lot of context, and we've identified some strengths across the district, and we've also identified some areas that we would like to really focus on and see where we can push into those particular notions. One of the things I really appreciate is that all 73 of the people who are interested, they love the meetings, but they also are saying, hey, we don't want to meet all of the time, which I totally understand. And so with that, we've talked about building out newsletters, but using those newsletters to not only provide information, but to strengthen our connection by highlighting specific staff and administrators across the district as well.
Thank you, Ms. Brewer. This is another example of how beautiful this school district is. part of the multicultural components, also this year was our first African American recognition ceremony. We continue to have Latino recognition ceremony. This year we had our first Native American Eagle Feather ceremony. We have summer camps. And we also have staff that created the Michigan Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents for the state. So as a school district, we're finding ways to make sure that we're honoring people's identities as we develop a multicultural learning environment to honor all of our students and give them a sense of belonging. That word that we keep saying, the belonging, is so important to all of us.
So rather than evaluating large-scale systematic change during year one, the group became interested in what we hoped to see. So ultimately, we wanted students, families, and staff to increasingly see themselves represented and feel more connected within their school communities. So this would allow for us to measure through engagement and participation at cultural events, at family engagement activities, professional development opportunities, and school-based initiatives. For visibility, we wanted to highlight what schools were achieving and what could be done immediately through communication, welcoming signage, classroom resources, displays, and school activities that reflected the diversity of the district. And then really this was a way to utilize the survey to help inform our decision making. So feedback that we were getting through these surveys can help to inform decision making in the future and provide valuable qualitative data regarding feelings of belonging, inclusion, representation, and cultural responsiveness.
So, as we wrap up, I want to share what's next. First, you'll see the launch of our Many Cultures, One Community newsletter for the 2026 to 2027 school year. This will be a quarterly newsletter and a way to share celebrations, resources, and examples of how this work is shown up across the district, keeping the focus visible and connected. Next is ongoing professional development. This is not a one-time professional development. We'll continue to build shared understanding and capacity over time with opportunities that will meet people where they are. A big part of that happens through professional learning communities, which Dr. O'Neill explained. PLCs are where this work becomes real, where teams reflect on learning environments. They connect representation to instruction and learn from one another using student work and classroom practice. There will be also ongoing updates to the board, so this work remains transparent, aligned, and accountable at the district level. And finally, we will begin planning for year 2 implementation. Year 1 is about building visibility and shared language. Year 2 is about deepening the work in thoughtful, sustainable ways. And without having to read my notes, and what I think I have to say before I forget to say this, because I think it's really important, I have been doing this for a few years now. And this example of this multicultural component is an example of what collaboration, listening, and time together can do to a school district. This started from you. The Board of Education created a resolution to move us forward. Because of that, we were able to identify community experts. A task force was made and developed. Because of a task force, they were able to create a plan for people to implement. As we develop an implementation team, we have people, as you can see, we were giving one framework and one researcher. They identified 2 more researchers to make sure that all this fits. So then we bring somebody here with technology advancement that can do a survey and play with this. And then we have more ways to move forward. I'm trying to say that all this good work can only be done from the top to the bottom collaboration, and it does take time. And for that, we got to be grateful to be part of this district. Thank you. That was not part of my...
Improv. This is my favorite part, the continuous improvement part. Before you see a snapshot of our Michigan Continuous Improvement Plan at the district level. It's no longer school by school, but it is one cohesive plan at the district level. It serves as an artifact of our commitment to this ongoing and embedded work. Think of it as the district's public promise, improvement roadmap, and accountability system all in one. Our MyKIP plan is a formal district improvement plan that identifies our goals, the strategies we will implement, how we're going to monitor progress, and the evidence we will collect to determine whether students are benefiting from each of these initiatives. It holds us accountable not only to the state of Michigan, but more importantly to our students, families, staff, and community. We have one goal: increase academic achievement through a cohesive district-wide MTSS system that strengthens academics, attendance, data literacy, instructional decision-making, and staff collective advocacy. Within that strategy, that is when we were able to differentiate somewhat with activities. The activities within the MyKIP plan are inclusive of principal and teacher voice, school needs identified in the building level needs assessment and the resource allocation review, and it outlines exactly how we plan to get to increased student achievement using these activities to drive us to MTSS, which will drive us to increased academic achievement. Our MyKIP plan demonstrates that we are not pursuing disconnected initiatives. Instead, we have intentionally aligned PLC at Work, CRPBIS, MTSS, EWIMS, which is Early Warning Intervention Monitoring System, and the Multicultural Task Force under our single district goal of increasing academic achievement. They are not separate, competing for attention. They are interconnected strategies written into our district improvement plan and monitored through a single system focused on student achievement. Improvements for year 2. I do want to talk about all that we have to celebrate. One of our biggest accomplishments this year is that we moved from a plan on paper to work in action, to back to a plan on paper in MyKIP to make sure that we are monitored and it's embedded. We see multilingual signage, cultural celebrations, student recognition ceremonies, affinity groups, stronger community partnerships, and increased staff engagement across the district. Most importantly, we see schools embracing the idea that belonging matters because belonging fuels learning. The community bus tour has changed us. The feedback from our community bus tour, which is something that was only for onboarding teachers, it was at the end of a long onboarding week, and it was optional. It was voluntary. We would pay if they could come and learn about our community, but it was not embedded in everybody's learning. The feedback has been over years incredible about how much they enjoy it, and we always hear from LSEA that have been here for years that they didn't go on the bus tour and they would like to go on the bus tour, and how would they do that. We have been supported in shifting that to embedding it in onboarding. All onboarding teachers will, within the day of the series that I teach, will be on this tour. They are provided with the text. They are provided with a script that we use, that we've intentionally built, so that they have lesson plan ideas. So from redlining of 496 all the way through Black and Hispanic owned businesses throughout the community. They learn about that. We are always surprised to know how many folks that even are from here and don't know some of this information. So they are able to leave that with tools and a framework, and always are motivated by that. More exciting than even that is MSU has asked to partner with us. So on Juneteenth, I will be taking a group of professors from MSU on this tour. And the hope is to work together so that any intern within that program, the teacher education program, that are working with our students, they will embed it into their program there. So we will have to let you know how that goes. The tour reminds us that understanding our community cannot happen from behind a desk. We grow as educators when we understand the neighborhoods, the histories, the assets, the challenges, and the strengths that shape our students' daily experiences. As we move into year 2, we want every educator to think like an ethnographer of our community, a learner first. Before we can build strong relationships, we must seek to understand. When educators are curious about their students' cultures, languages, experiences, and communities, trust grows. And when trust grows, belonging grows. And when belonging grows, achievement follows. The greatest lesson from year 1 is that our diversity is not simply something we acknowledge, it is one of our district's greatest strengths. We have much to celebrate, much to learn, and even more to build together. Many cultures, one community, one Lansing School District.
I want to thank this entire team for the presentation that you put together, but mostly for the work. I really want to say, I want to close out with just a couple of things that are just genuine thoughts of mine from observations that I've made over the last several months, but also observations that I've made through this very work. One of those is, oftentimes we hear board resolutions, but it's really makes me proud to see that there's not only a board resolution, but a plan. And not just a plan, but action. And not just action, but taking that action and then solidifying it through the state process of MyKIP, which then makes it official. That means that there's people at the state level that are reading that plan, and then they're going to hold us accountable to the things that we've built in that. And I think I want to lift Dr. Sarah O'Neill and the team for making this, that we know that this is such a wonderful thing, that we had to take it from the board to a plan to action to, you know, to them making it official in MyKIP. So this is work that will continue on through the district. So I wanted to lift that. I also know that there's been lots of questions even from the community, what's happening with our equity committee, what's happening with the work, what's happening with all the things. And I think this is just this tip of the iceberg of the things that we are taking and still gleaning from that audit and from that committee and making those things come to real life. Of course, is that the entirety of that work? No, of course it's not. There's a lot of work to dig into and to look at, but I want to make sure that people do know that that work is still living on in the things that we're doing and the resolutions that the board is doing. I also wanted to lift that we've given a lot of surveys over the last couple of years, and those surveys are really long. That will change. I am not for the 80 question survey. I think you can get just about as much information from about a 15 to 25 question survey. That's a way of listening to the people that are talking to us and saying, I'd love to finish the survey, but it's 85 questions and I don't have that kind of time. But I do want the people in the audience and the people who are listening to know that, as you saw, those surveys are being used by our staff. We are looking at the data that our students give us to make decisions. Over the next year, you're going to start to see those on school websites. How are those being answered? What are these being used? Transparency is incredibly important. And I think people need to know that the things that they're telling us, they're actually being listened to. Lastly, I think the sense of belonging is incredibly important, but you can't do that without relationships. And you certainly cannot do that without trust. And so to have a child feel like they can tell us things, or that their voices are listened to, or that our community's voices are listening to, you hear that often in our district and many districts across the state. Student voice is important, parent voice is important, community voice is important. But I'm going to offer this tonight. I think the most important thing is listening. A lot of people can have voice, but if there's no one on the other end listening and putting that into action and doing the things, then it's just voice. And so I think as a district over the next year, 2 years, you're going to see a lot of these things coming toward this horseshoe and around the community, around transparency and trust and listening. People have wonderful things to say if you're only brave enough to listen. So again, I want to commend this team. They've really brought the multicultural task force work and plan to life. They breathe life into it. And so for your time, because I know it's been a lot of time and research, I just want to commend this table. Thank you.
Okay. Questions? Trustee Hurd?
Hi. Thank you, Mr. President. I do have to leave. I'm going on tour in Vienna, and so we have a rehearsal that's like now. I'm an hour late, but I wanted to really get this out because I really appreciate this milestone it being settled in the state and all the things. I love to see the literature. I love to see the frameworks. All those things are really my jam. Finally, something not numbers that I can talk about. So this is great for the qualitative people over here. You spoke to the equity committee and things at first, and one thing that was burning in me the whole time you were talking is how much collaboration with the board's equity committee as well as student achievement is still going on. And if there's nothing going on, what is the plan to get us back up and rolling so that we can actively be thought partners in this work with you?
Before Jessica answers, we've actually been talking about this because currently my name is with the Equity Committee. And at this moment, that has not that it's not a priority, because it is. We have talked about the possibility of merging the Multicultural Task Force. I've had some conversations with you lovely people and teams. And the Equity Committee, because a lot of that work is similar but different. And we didn't want to belabor folks' time pulling them in both spaces doing the same thing. That's not a great use of priority of district funds and time. And so I think we were still having some conversations about what that was going to look like. But to be completely transparent, it was not something that this board at the time had as a priority, given leaving and transition of superintendents and budget cuts and people having to be, removed. So I do believe and hope that in the future this will be something we can re-ramp up. My ask to the chairs and when we've had our meetings is that the Equity Committee be an arm ledge to the multicultural team. But we have to figure out the rules, and I'm putting our trustee Nowinski on the spot, because there are certain rules when there's a board assigned committee and then you have a district force. So I think those were our level set up front, and being transparent with the question where we were wrestling with that and how that would land and still be in the legal framework of rules, if that helps answer. And then I can certainly yield the other half of that question to our superintendent. And then if Nowinski wants to add anything from that conversation we had many months ago of how we could level set and do this work effectively without belaboring our staff who are working in both areas doing the same work.
Questions? Any other questions?
Well,
Trustee Will?
Well, that's only half of it.
Yeah, that's what I was
Thanks.
going to say. Yeah, so there's a couple of things here. There's layers to this. So let's kind of just break it. I'm just going to break it down a little bit. I think one is exactly what our Secretary Strode said, which is merging the two. But the Multicultural Task Force is not even a large part, in my mind, of even the Equity Committee work. It's one piece of that. It's a way to celebrate and do, but it does not talk about disparity in discipline. It does not talk about inequities of achievement for Black and brown students. It does not address the heart of what I believe that Equity Committee work really talked about. I think that's one of the reasons that Dr. Sarah O'Neill is such a critical piece, because she, and so is Carlton Evans, because they were there for the equity work, the equity audit, the equity piece. There are lots of things that you haven't seen here tonight that we have, as an instructional division, I'm really proud of the work that the team has done. I had the blessing to be the deputy superintendent over instruction. I actually still have that job. But I don't want to let it go either. I know I have to, but it's where my heart is, and I will, I'm going to have you add to this work too. Can you talk a little bit about even some of the frameworks that we've put in place for when we piloted our materials?
Yes.
And some of the other processes, because I think some of the things that I'm hoping to change is we have to talk about all of the things that we're doing in the district that even the board doesn't know, because when we hear things like there was a huge, if you were here the night of the equity when we talked about it, it was a huge group of committed people, and many of those were on the task force. They're looking for ways to plug in. One of the things that we have to acknowledge, though, is the instructional division, along with special pops and even people, I know Cordelia's even looked at this work, is what are the ways we're embedding it into the day-to-day work of the Lansing School District? One of the things that we are tackling currently is through EduStat, which Dr. Sarah O'Neill took over in my stead. is we have added the data for discipline in all of the different categories. Students with special education, our ML students, our black and brown students. Are there numbers that are sticking out at certain schools that we need to address? What's the root of that? Why is that happening? What training needs to happen? And so those are things you're going to hear a lot more about, but those are pieces that have not been as codified in like a bow as some of this work. So I'm glad that you lifted that. It's time for that work to be rejuvenated and talked about again. They are embedded in a lot of our systems, but I don't think that we've ever really reported a lot of that out. I'm going to let her share a couple of those ways. And that's also how we are connected with maybe not the Student Achievement Committee directly, but with actual student achievement in the departments.
I think that's what I'm after, and I'd love to hear your explanation. It's what I'm just trying to make sure that, again, Stronger is 10, that we have an understanding, great presentation, love that, but also the great work that these committees are doing. And even as we are rebuilding some things and trying to figure out where everything is supposed to go, do we have a system that's already in place for us to have this knowledge in case we're not at ISS, but to be doing the work on the ground? A lot went into this, and would love to hear about the ways that the Board of Education was being a thought partner in the journey. Great outcome. I'm glad to see it. And not that everybody is going to do everything. You all have done great work. I'm glad to hear it. But go ahead. I just wanted to kind of make the connections, because we do have a lot of committees that we serve on. And sometimes there are things that are at work that don't necessarily make it to committee, as you said.
Absolutely. So Mrs. Benavides has been very intentional with, instead of the equity work being a separate group, it is now embedded in everything the instructional division produces and all the conversations that we have. So some examples are, she mentioned EduStat, where we are working on principal data literacy. We very openly and transparently within those meetings talk about disproportionality. We talk about use of curricular tools, talk about assessment data, and we do it by subgroup. And so that is building the principal's skill set and not feeling like something else separate. We use the CRSE that I mentioned earlier to look at all curricular tools to see how much representation is there, by who, and where the gaps are. That tool is used. We do not move forward if that tool does not come to consensus among the department that this is a great choice for our population. One of the things that has shifted me as a learner with the PLC process that aligns with this work, with systemic equity work, is each school has something called collective commitments, and they design together 6 commitments, 2 on focus on learning, 2 on collaborative culture, and 2 on results orientation. And they make a commitment. They wordsmith it, take as long as they need, to these 6 commitments if you come and work at this school. That's happened before. What's different is the PLC at work culture shift has been, we are intentional now with planning for confronting violations of the commitments. And I know confronting can be a tough word for some, but the District Guiding Coalition likes that word. There's nothing wrong with being assertive in a supportive way if we are seeing things that are not aligning with our collective commitments, as well as planning for celebrations when we hit particular marks, equity infused as well. We also do a lot of coaching at the principal level, and that's where the coaching comes more of an individualized level. If there are portions within schools that need to be addressed. And so we will coach also at the principal level in critical conversations, how to read data in subgroups, how to monitor, and then how to go back and check and celebrate. And so it's just more infused in the school improvement process year over year instead of seeming like a separate group. And that's been intentional by the department.
Can you do me a favor? For the people at home, I know we live in a world of acronyms.
Oh, yeah.
CRSE is?
Culturally responsive, sustaining education, self-assessment.
And for me, one of the major things, and you're talking about coaching at the principal level, one of the major things that I would love to see, and this is just me, you don't have to, send it to everybody, is looking at how our boots on the ground, accepting the system. How is it working, and is it helping people meet the board's goal, for greater student achievement, and not only in the numbers, but in the actual proficiency? Are we seeing the knowledge base based on these frameworks, based on these tools, that it is helping our school communities? What I would love to see is, if you have a survey, I know we have many, what are the school leaders saying about EduStat? Do they love it? Do they hate it? If they hate it, why? Has the administration really, I know that you give people a platform, but have those voices been heard? And if there has been coaching to what end? How has it helped us? And what I would love to see is how then, after all of that, when does student achievement then see these numbers in their conversation? I'm not on student achievement, but they do great work, and we talk amongst each other sometimes about how well things are going, to say, hey, student achievement knows about these 6 commitments. And even, I'm almost pulling a Dr. Rodriguez number here. I would love to see each school and what their 6 commitments are, because I'm a big nerd like that. What are they saying that they're committed to doing at each level, and how is that going for them? How are our kids responding to this, and what does that mean for proficiency in the long run, as that is becoming more and more a part of our strategic plan? And how are we, the board, collaborating with you in the spaces where it is appropriate to be thought partners, to be cheerleaders, and also to go to the community and speak about this in layman's terms without the educationese? What exactly are we doing for kids without the high-level language, so that our babies are reading better, the math scores are better, everything is better, our principals are being community leaders as well as school leaders, our parents are involved? What have we done? And I think part of that is using us as the community representatives as well. And so that was the reason for my initial question. Are we plugged in? And if we're not plugged in, Madam Superintendent, what can this board do to empower you more outside of resolution, to ensure that we are doing the best in our oversight function in this matter? Thank you.
Is there a answer? Okay. Well, let's go. We're working on it. Trustee Williams and then Trustee Rodriguez.
Okay, I hope you can hear me. I have a couple of questions and a couple of concerns. Thank you for the presentation. I'm going to ask, my first question is, just for clarification, it is, what is the timeline for the suggested discussion of merging the equity committees with the multiple task force? Unless you've already talked about that and I missed it.
I haven't been a part of those conversations, but I do know that the multicultural task force, the way that it is structured currently, is an arm of the equity committee. And so how that works, and how when Trustee Strode asked Trustee Nowinski, I think one of the ways that we were planning on doing that, and of course we're open to suggestions or alterations to this, is that as we, kind of like how I serve on the Student Achievement Committee, for example. So when we meet, I bring a report, or I bring answers, or I bring data, whatever the committee wants to see. It's my responsibility as a member of that committee on the administration side to provide that. So the idea was that for the Multicultural Task Force, and now committee here, would be that we would bring reports or information to the equity committee, so that then that equity committee could give us recommendations, suggestions, alignment, and so forth. And so as soon as that is kind of linked up, that was the original structure that we had talked about, unless there's something different that we want to do. But that way, there was that balance between board and district employee, so that we could still interact and do the things, but that there's a part for both of us, I guess, is what I'm saying.
My second question / concern, I'm listening. I know what the initiative was. I actually served on both the equity committee and I was on the subcommittee. And to me, all of this seems at the top going down. Nowhere in this to me do I see children involved, do I see families involved, do I see community. And if we're going to make this an initiative, it first and foremost has to be about our children. The training comes later. We have to be able to do this and do this now. And that's my concern. I actually had about 15 people text me, say, what are they talking about? Because it's over everybody's head. They're not understanding it. And I just want us to remember, yes, everybody is educated, but everybody doesn't know the acronyms. Everybody doesn't understand the lingo. We have to, in order to bring that trust and collaboration, we have to speak their language. Hi, I'm Roslyn. You are Saria. They don't understand, oh, this is Dr. Saria Sanana. They're looking like, what? We have to remember everything we do. And as we're changing our culture, we have to keep everybody in mind, from the lowest of the low to the highest of the high, and everybody in between. So that's really concerning for me, because for 15 people to say I'm logging off and this is important, I'm disheartened. So I want us to think about that going forward when we do any presentations. But again, my question is, how are we, again, I see the educators, but I don't see the kids, I don't see the family, I don't see the community. How are we connecting this now? Because we initiated this about a year or two ago, so now we're moving kind of quickly, but we can't move unless all parts are moving together.
Williams, for your comments. I see it as a recommendation and something that we have to always pay attention. I mean, we have to make sure that all the work that you see here, yes, it took a specific technical wording and all that, but we have to always think that how are we going to deliver the message to our community and the involvement of our community. Those are two well-taken points. Thank you.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Very much, Mr. President. Thank you very much for the presentation to the public, to the board. We were waiting for a few months, and here we are in a very difficult, very promised a task and vision for the district. Page 4, I don't think, no, page whatever, 2, I don't think the numbers are correct, but anyway, maybe my eyes are no good. Check and you let me know. Number, the percentage and the total that you are giving us over there, but just to correct in case they need to be correcting. The second is about the initiative. If we can change that word in any place, I don't know if we can change in the resolution, but the rest is okay. As the public know and my students know, I am a persona loca for the culture in the school. I am a crazy person for the culture in the schools. But the culture in the school guide everything in education. The culture in the school put together the community, the families, the teachers, the students, and the future. And I think we had to define clearly what is a school culture. What are the characteristics of the school culture? And I think very clear, Dr. Banks said, emphasizes that multicultural education is not an add-on, but a comprehensive reform approach to affect curriculum, instruction, school culture, and policy. And then, in another place, you also emphasize that. Then we don't need to year 1, year 2, year 3 to have a school culture that reflect the multicultural population of cultures of our district. If you can just right away, if you know what the school culture, I asking you to give the principals, to give you the signs that your school culture is now. Do it again at half of the year and do it again at the end of the year. And that way we know if the school culture is changing, we know we can evaluate the school culture. And that can be done day 1, year 1, because it's right here. The congratulations, I want to see the school culture right away in the school changing. The otherwise, we will continue doing the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Trustee Strode?
Thank you so much. I have just one or two questions. I appreciate the thoughtfulness that went into this, even the Mentimeter. I'm a Mentimeter fan. I love using it at work for my staff and team. One of the things that I think I'm hearing my colleagues say is there seems to be maybe a language barrier, and maybe that's not the best word to utilize in this space, but maybe something that would be very helpful is we're talking about culture and framework and fabric. And if there is an opportunity to provide the data metrics, because our data is going to tell our story for us, our data is going to show us the facts of where we are. And so if you pull even from the Mentimeter page on 7 here, I think it's slide 13 and 14, you have data of students in a sample, and that's 6,329 students. And you're asking questions. I see people of many races, ethnicities, cultures, and backgrounds represented in the curriculum. This is middle school and high school. Would have been really awesome, and this is still great, but I hear the hey, we want to hear a little more. We're a little confused. We're not sure. The school breakdown of that 6,329 students. What does each school say about these cultural answers? What are the risks that we see as red tape? So the red tape I see is from 14 out of the 6,344 students, 33% of those youth say this school treats each other with respect. But this is the sample of how many students. It doesn't tell me the school. It doesn't tell me the culture of the school. And I think I love about our board is the transparency, where we're not calling anybody out, right? We're calling each other in. They're saying, hey, what's up with the equity committee? And that's great. We like that. But going back to the culture of the school breakdown, what are the risks and how are we mitigating that? And I can answer a little bit because I see it every day. I see it when I show up here. I see it when I show up at schools. I see it when I drop my kid off. But I see it as walking through the building. The people listening to this, right? We got to show them the story where they can see it happening. So for instance, the Strode School has 100 students, and out of the 100, 75% feel safe. 75% are African American. 75% participated in this cultural event that happened at the school, and we had a PTO team, and the parents surrounded it, and we had 1,000 people in attendance, and the mayor gave a speech. We're building community and connection. Actually, our 5th graders that was just here, they did a visual learning board on the cultural framework within literature and language. That's what we want to see. We know that it's happening, but that's what we want to talk about here. And so I think building the gaps, and I love Trustee Williams for bringing that up, about meeting people where they are, and I think we do a great job of doing that. And you guys come here and like, we got to give you this big, great, all these jumbled words and do a great job, and you did amazing. But we put our pants on just like you do. And so our kids listening to this, they want to hear it like at home in their pajamas. I was a part of that. That was my school that gave those results. And then you get people to get buy-in, and then they want to work and help, because many arms make light work. And so I commend all of you because this is very important, but I think we want to see more information at our school levels and what's happening. And if there are risks, tell us, right? Let's talk about it, because then we can help mitigate those risks. Because 33% of our kids said they don't feel respected at school. That's a problem. We got to do something. Right? So that's my more than enough time I talked, but I appreciate this great work, and I know we do great work every single day, and thank you.
Anyone else? No other questions? Speaking about alphabet, stuff, what's PLC? Remind me.
Yeah, professional learning community.
Professional learning
So
community.
it's professionals of teachers getting together in groups and disaggregating data and planning for instruction.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Sure. I thought it was something else, like place to learn and stuff like that. No, this issue of alphabet stuff, it's everywhere. So I think that Trustee Williams and Trustee Strode are right, because we need to speak to people, and when we throw all this alphabet stuff, what is that? And then we have to stop and say. So thank you for the presentation. It's we can build on this, and we're building on it. I don't know if eventually the two committees may merge. I don't think they have the same goals. I think they're different goals. But I think they do work, off each other, I think. So we'll see what happens. Again, thank you for your presentation. It was great. Appreciate it. Let's work on that language for next time. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done, Chris.
We're now on to report from the Secretary.
Thank you so much. I will be very quick. We celebrated our last week of school. We celebrated our graduating class of 2026 on Saturday. And so shout out to them. Again, congratulations to all of our wonderful Lansing School District class of 2026. And our board baby graduated. Trustee Williams' son, Tyrese, is a graduate of 2026 Eastern High School. Sorry, that's my plug. The district student development program is currently running its summer sessions, which operates from June 8th through the August 13th. We are designing that to keep students active, connected, and growing. The program actually runs Monday through Thursday from 11 to 5 p.m. at the Don Johnson Fieldhouse, Monday through Thursday. So Friday, no program. Enroll for next school year online. We need you to come home. The district has successfully launched this online enrollment portal. You can get it on the Google, you can get on the web and type in LSD, a Lansing School District, and there'll be a register button to register your kid for upcoming school year. August 24th is teacher's first day back. It's gonna come in a blink. August 26th is the first day of school. And our next board meetings are right now, July 10th and July 11th. We'll have more details on our calendar for summer as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. We're now on to new business. Fiscal year 26-27 budget.
Mr. President, I recommend that the Board of Education approve fiscal year 26-27 budget as detailed in the attachment.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve the 26-27 budget. Discussion? Trustee Nowinski?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll just share as the treasurer and chair of the Finance Committee to thank the staff for putting this together. I know it hasn't been easy. Thank Interim Superintendent for leading the evaluation of this year and given the context of where we're at with unknowns of state funding and the need to consider some structural changes in the budget. I know it's, as you mentioned, the goal is to get to zero use of fund balance, but that takes time and thoughtful communication with the community, as you mentioned already. So we are still kind of in that within that recommended percentage of having a little over 13%, just even with this preliminary budget. So I'm going to lift that up to the community that while we are at this point, if we adopt this, which I support, spending a little bit more of the fund balance, it does still leave some there in the fund balance, and we hope that through the budget amendments we'll reduce that further and not use as much, maybe even get to zero within the next academic year, and if not, in the next budget. And that's the reason we have this fund balance, 4 years like this. We really don't want to just continue to build up fund balance. That means we're getting money that we're not using for our students. So I think I don't want people to be alarmed that we're using fund balance again, but that the board is aware of the need for structural changes, which includes efforts on our part to go to the community and ask for the Headley override and things that were mentioned. So just in summary, from those perspectives of finance, again, thank you to staff for diligently getting us this far, which was a lot of work, I know, and already working on the next steps to get us closer to zero, either within the year or in the next year.
Thank you. Any other comment? Hearing none, we're going to have a roll call vote.
Dr. Kavanagh,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Nowinski,
Yes.
Dr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Strode,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, Treasurer's Report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Because we're not having another meeting this month, the Finance Committee hasn't met, but we wanted to offer the May 2026 Treasurer's Report and ask for action on that. The detailed Treasurer's Report for the period of May 1st through May 31st, 26 is attached to this evening's agenda. The following are the highlights of the report. The beginning cash and investment balance was $61,838,141. Receipts totaled $16,529,415, while disbursements equaled $21,530,832. Net interfund transfers totaled $468,297, and interest from fund investments to the student and bond funds, as well as journal entries to remove the due to/due from in all funds. The monthly transfer to the general fund for bond expenses was $0. The ending general fund cash and investment balance on May 31st, 2026 was $57,305,021. Donations received during the month of May 2026 totaled $16,725. I want to specifically thank Abbott Exchange and MSU FCU for donation to Latino Advisory Council, the estate of Jacqueline Mars for a significant donation to the district, Chelsea Milling Company for donation to the Dwight Rich Cooking Program, the Ebersol Foundation for a donation to Ebersol, the Wrestling Amateur Athletic Association of Michigan for a donation to Eastern, and Michigan State Federal Credit Union for a $5,000 donation for Back to School 5K. Any other businesses or organizations who want to support the Back to School 5K are encouraged to reach out to the district, and we would appreciate that. Mr. President, this concludes the May 2026 Treasurer's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the expenditures as presented for May 2026.
It's been moved to second to approve the expenditures as presented. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. We're going to move to change orders, purchases. Is this part of the Facilities Committee? Yeah, okay. Facilities Committee report.
Good evening. I'm going to make this as quick as possible. So this week we had a facilities meeting on Monday. Some of the things we talked about is the Willow Elementary School parking has been paved and stripped. Landscaping is underway. Furniture has been installed. Finishing touches are being completed through the main building. The grand opening celebration is scheduled for July 21st from 4 to 7 p.m. Luton Elementary School construction continues to progress on schedule. Approximately 60% of the footing and foundation has been completed. Masonry work has begun with walls being installed, starting with the gymnasium. Structural steel installation is also underway. Underground mechanical, electrical, and plumbing is progressing. As a reminder, the planning for Luton is fall of 2028. Sexton's Auditorium has additional staffing was required to allow the crew to complete the duct work, installation, interior finishes. Current work includes wall and ceiling finishes, painting, and lighting installation. The project continues to move forward as planned. The district air conditioning projects at Dwight Ridge, Forest View, Geyer Park, and Post Oak are moving in full construction mode this week. Crews have been working overnight over the past several months. Beginning this week, work will transition to daytime hours as construction activity increases. All 4 projects are scheduled to be completed by the start of the fall. As a reminder, these projects will be providing whole building air conditioning with exceptions of the hallways. Eastern Alumni Association naming request. The district received 2 naming requests from the Eastern Alumni Association, one for the track, one for the football field. However, at this time, we don't have the money, so the suggestion was that we go back to the Alumni Association and ask if they're willing to fund this, make donations, fundraise, or something like that. So that's where we are with the air conditioning project change orders. Change orders are being presented for 3 air conditioning projects. These changes will replace factory installed controls with controls that meet the district standards specifications. The cost of these changes will be funded through the project's contingency funds. Salt storage bin purchase recommendation, the district is recommending the purchase of a salt storage bin to support winter operations. The facility will allow the district to purchase and store its own salt. Currently, the district relies on the city for salt supply during winter weather events, and I'm sure we know how that goes. Last winter, the city exhausted its salt inventory, creating challenges for the district's snow and ice removal operations. Owning and storing our own salt will only improve reliability, increase operational flexibility, and reduce the risk of supply shortage during the severe weather. Corporate elevator assessment management contract. This district is recommending approval of contract with Corporate Elevator Access Management. The firm will assist the district with elevator compliance management and oversight. Services will include maintenance, contract management, invoice review, project administration, and monitoring of all required inspections and upgrades. The district is facing several legislative required elevator updates and compliance obligations. The partnership will help ensure elevators remain safe, compliant, and properly maintained while providing additional oversight of vendor performance and project costs. The Don Johnson Fieldhouse renovations. As a reminder, the district received a grant from the state of Michigan to support improvements to Don Johnson's Fieldhouse. Grant funding is restricted to the Fieldhouse project and cannot be used for any other district purpose. Renovations include filling in the former pool and constructing a fourth basketball court. The balcony above the new court will be enclosed and renovated to create tutorial and student support space. The district received multiple qualification and complete bids for the project, and you can see who the bidder was. The recommendation is awarded to contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. Pleasant View electrical and mechanical improvements. Electrical and mechanical upgrades are being completed at Pleasant View. The improvements will provide the infrastructure necessary to install window air units, conditioning throughout the building. Multiple bids were received. The lowest bid was determined to be incomplete and did not meet the project. Therefore, the recommended is to award the contract to the lowest responsible bidder that submitted a complete proposal. Gardner International School chiller replacement. The district is replacing one of the school's failing air conditioning units. The project will improve cooling reliability and help maintain a comfortable learning environment for students and staff. Construction is scheduled to begin during the summer months. The contract is being awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. Hill EV bus chargers. Electrical infrastructure project. The district is recommending approval of the electric infrastructure work required for the Hill Transportation Center EV bus charging project. The project will prepare the site for installation of 6 electric vehicle bus chargers. Work includes site preparation, electrical connection between the charging infrastructure and the solar field in the building. The district received several competitive bids for this project. The recommendation is awarded to the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. The recommended bid is approximately $450,000 below the district's budget estimate, resulting in significant project savings while maintaining the full scope of work, which can also allow us to possibly get EV in other places and contract with other people. That is our report, and those are our recommendations.
Take a breath.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Do you have any questions on these items? Okay.
Mr. President, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Trustee Rodriguez.
Thank you very much. There are several requests for Don Johnson Fieldhouse.
Yes.
I think it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about $700,000 more or less altogether. I think this board should know the situation of what the physical situation is at Don Johnson at this time. I think also we had the pool there, and I don't know if you're using the pool or we don't using the pool, but I think that we should be planning for this building the best we can, because it's whole building, but it's used by the district. I am not opposed to all this. What I'm talking about is to have a vision what we are going to do to this building in the future.
Yeah. Do you have any comments on that?
So I think a lot of this, and thank you for bringing that up, we are using it district-wide. So we were able to get money from the state of Michigan, provide improvements to Don Johnson Fieldhouse. So that's what this section of money is allowing us to do. We start with the spaces where our students are being educated every day, but this is also another important component. Sorry, this keeps cutting out.
My question was not about the money coming from, it's about to have a vision, how we are going to be incorporate this building to the Lansing School District. The pool you have there and the future in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, but more than to ignoring what is there, to be able to understand this building.
Well, currently our students' summer program is being taught there. We have kids going in every day after school, and now they're going to be going in the summer. So these changes are being made to actually enhance the current space that we have so that kids can play basketball, as well as we have a separate site for studying and everything like that. So it's giving our children more access while changing it and making it more safer for the students.
Yeah. Yeah, Don Johnson needed some help, and I'm glad this came through.
It's one more time, I not question anything, I just visioning what is going on there. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Do I have a motion? Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education accept items A through F as presented.
Second.
Moved in second. Accept items A through F as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. We now have a item D, corporate elevator assessment contract. And did the committee, okay, you want to say something about that?
I did cover it. However, I'll go back over it. The district is recommending approval of a contract with Corporate Elevator Assessment Management. The firm will assist the district with elevator compliance management and oversight. So basically what they're going to be doing is working with our teams to make sure, because I know I've gotten on the Eastern elevator and I always look, I'm like, that says 2015. So bringing us up to code, standard, safety, everything that we need so that students who have to use it as well as staff, there's no issues. And then it's also following the guidelines of the state legislature at this point.
Right.
The other part I just wanted to elaborate on in addition to is with the legislative changes, we have to change our elevators by December of 2028. So this firm will assist us in making all of the necessary changes, whether that's tweaks to our current systems, whether or not we have to install brand new elevators and shafts. This company will do all of that assessment for us and then oversee the work that needs to be done in conjunction with our team. Because as well, we know a lot of things, we are not experts in elevator systems.
Yeah, that's going to be quite an expense. So is there a motion to approve this?
President,
Go ahead.
I move that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or their designee to enter a partnership with the Corporate Elevator Assess Management.
So move to second to approve this contract. Any other questions, concerns? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Item E, MHSA A resolution.
So in your packets, you have the 26-27 membership resolution in front of you. This is a contract that we sign every year, and it is a contract that includes who are we going to have participating with MHSAA. This includes Lansing Eastern, Everett, and Sexton. Of course, we co-op currently for Lansing Technical High School, so our students have access there. And then you have seen the additions of our middle school programming, because as you know, that's a priority of the district, is making sure that we have the middle school programs for sports available to our students. That includes Gardner, Dwight Rich, Sheridan Road, Patton Gill, Luton, Mount Hope, Atwood, Post Oak, North, and Wexford, all 10 of our schools that have middle school students. And so this is what the resolution is, and this is for the 26-27 school year. This is about the time, if not in August, that we sign this resolution, and so we're ready and set to go for sports beginning August 1st.
Okay. Questions before we go? Well, let's get a motion to this. Go ahead.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the MHSAA resolution for additional middle schools as presented.
Been seconded? Okay, we moved in second. Trustee Nowinski?
Maybe just briefly, I'm kind of curious thinking about this. Because we have the K-8 model, we've got all those sites you just read, 10 sites, which may be a more traditional feeder system would maybe have 2 middle schools going to a single high school. Does this create challenges for us having 10 different middle schools listed for sports participation in particular.
Yeah, this is one of the areas that I think we're going to need to look at when we've talked about configurations and footprints. I do know that our community, through the listening tour that I conducted over the 90 days and frankly still doing, I think I'll probably continue to do that, to be quite honest, is there is a cry for looking at the middle school model again and thinking about how are we utilizing our K schools if that is the best model for the district. Fiscally speaking, this is very challenging. It's also challenging for parents transportation-wise. For example, when you think about having a sports team, instead of having 3 track programs or 2 track programs, we have 10 track programs. So that means 10 coaches, 10 times, transportation, et cetera. And so this is not a model for efficiency. However, the way that we're currently doing it, we're hoping for a model of equity, at least in the model that we currently have. But yes, this is very challenging because of the amount of personnel that it takes. And then also, we want to make sure that we have schools that will have enough students to have these particular programs. We have had it where even our bell times have created issues for students where they may co-op with another school that then either starts earlier or ends earlier. And so some students might even miss instruction just to have that equitable sports experience. So those are things that we have been looking at to maximize those so students are not missing particularly instructional time. But then thinking about busing even, there's no way to get 10 buses out, especially with the driver shortage and everything that we have with the buses. So I am glad that you lift that. I think this is an area that I look forward to speaking to the board about and thinking about how can we maximize and be more efficient with the footprint we have. But this is just one example of the inefficiencies in a lot of ways that our K-8s, that model does provide for the district. So it is something that we're going to need to look at.
Trustee Dr. Rodriguez?
I had two. One is the price changed a lot? And second, what kind of the services they are going to provide?
So I don't have the monetary cost on this membership. This is just a signing of saying that we're part of the MHSAA. The part that they provide is just the services, making sure that we follow the regulations, that we make sure that we have the eligibility requirements and so forth. But this is something that our current, I always want to say AD, and that's not accurate, Keith Cravata for our enrichment, that he is very active with MHSAA because there are some things over the years that we've wanted to see them do differently for the Lansing School District, and we have thought that they've been amenable to the constructive criticism that we've provided to them.
The reason of the question is because we want to be sure that we have somebody there for the help the students, something happen.
Yes, and we do. Keith is very active.
They also assign the umpires and referees for all the activities. Okay. So there's a motion on approving this resolution. I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Dr. Kavanagh,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Novisky,
Yes.
Dr. Rodriguez, Mrs. Strode,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, we're down to public comment on non-agenda items. No comments? Okay. We're now to comments from the board. Trustee Strode?
I have one comment really quick. I noticed, we have been having possible thoughts, and it says to be determined with our summer calendar. I know we don't have our full board here, but do we have a idea or thought of the cadence of our meetings being changed for the summer? I'm not sure where we landed on that.
Well, they're on schedule just in case we need them. We can cancel a meeting, let's say in July or August, or in August, but we generally do that.
Okay.
So that's also a good topic for discussion at our retreat. Trustee Williams?
Mr. President, I just want to, again, thank our superintendent, intern superintendent, for being the person that she was this past weekend. 4 graduations was a lot. She made sure that the love was shown in front of our students as well as behind our students, which is trajectorying our district in a whole positive light. To hear the comments in the community, to see her in action the next day in the community with different people, educators, it's just the mindset of where we're going with this district. So kudos to you for being everything and then taking out the time just to celebrate our students overall. I heard some of the students say, did she say that everybody in back of us love us as well as y'all? I said, yes, she did. Yes, she did. She was like, okay, I ain't got nothing to worry about then. So knowing that your words have been impacted and impressed in our students, I want you to know that I am honored, because my son talked about it again today. He said, Mama, she's still shorter than me, but I love that lady, that lady. So know that the students are talking about you and they see you, they hear you, they honor you, as well as all of you in this room, everybody, they honor you and they respect you. I think we have done so much in so much time. And to hear my favorite 3 words, love, faith, and hope, it just took us to a whole different dynamic this weekend. So congratulations to everybody here.
Thank you.
Oh, and since Trustee Hurd is not here, I have to say, so if you're thinking about changing your kids and moving them to a different school, come on back home. LSD is where you want to be.
Anybody else? I also just want to thank Superintendent Benavides for all the hard work to date, and the executive team, and actually all staff of the district, because I think everybody's showed up, everybody's contributed, and I think we ended the year in a positive note, very positive note. So thank you very much. And I also heard
Talking about this.
Let me finish with
okay.
it, if I may. It's just that I've heard from community as well that they were impressed and we're glad to have been at the graduations. Dr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. But since we are not going to have meetings in a long time, can we make a motion to give the superintendent a permanent position, or is it still an interim position? How we are going to modify that?
Well, okay. We're meeting with the attorneys so that they can agree on the terms of the contract. And that's going to happen in the next few days.
Thank you very much.
It's moving. It's moving. Vice Chair Kavanaugh.
Mr. President, I move to remove items 11 and 12 from the agenda due to appearance request to reschedule the hearing.
It's been moved to hear a second? Okay, it's been moved and second to remove the items 11 and 12 from the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say, excuse me.
I mean, I'm happy to honor that. I guess I just want to point out that staff have prepared for this and consultants and staff are here. So I'm a little disappointed to know that. And I guess something for us to consider in process as we continue to talk about this, consider what the process should look like so that maybe these situations don't occur.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Did you have your hand up, Trustee Strode? Yes.
And centered around that same reflective thought, I know that we're in the process of us taking over with, if it comes to this space, being that the parents rescheduled, is there a rescheduled window?
We'll have to go back to the policy and see where we're at.
Because at this rate, we're getting into the summer, and we want to respect everybody's time. We also may or may not have a quorum, depending on when this is rescheduled. So I just want to be mindful that if a parent is requesting reschedule due to unforeseen circumstances, we completely understand. We want to work with our families and hear everybody out, and I know that the board is now the final remedy. But at what rate are you subjecting your opportunity to come before the board, and the board and district spending our resources and funds with our attorney here for a hearing that's not happening? So we do have to put some accountability back into the space. That you missed your window, maybe in policy, I'm over the policy chair, we need to figure out how that's going to look for a reschedule. Thank you.
President,
Trustee Rodriguez?
thank you very much. I respect the motion, but are the parents here? Are the parents know about this motion? Are we going to respect them to have the conversation, or just to decide right away without them knowing that we are cancel this meeting? That is what I want to hear.
Oh.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. President.
Hold on. Yes, it was at the request, and that's why we had to amend the agenda, so that remove those items from the agenda.
So I do have a question, and this is to our office school culture person. Was it just tonight that they requested it? Did they have a window of opportunity to request a change the day before this hit our agenda?
Yes, ma'am. The family did not realize the board meeting was going to go as long. They work in the evening, and so they are open to a reschedule. However, the time frame in terms of window of time is not important. However, it needs to be after 3 and before 6:30 p.m. is their request.
So I guess then coming back to the president, and I know that they asked this, but now you have 9 plus people you have to coordinate schedules with. At this point, I guess I'm okay doing what we need to do, but at the same time, you know, the decision still has to be made whether the parent is here or not.
Right. Right. So,
So, and I know we're not in closed session, so I'm not using any framework. So it seems like there's a possibility we need to move this earlier into the meeting. The time has passed. However, usually, and I could be wrong, Office of School or Culture, if a parent misses or a student misses their window, the hearing still occurs without them. So I guess how are we, and I know I already second to not have this meeting, what is the opposement of not continuing with the hearing even if they're not here?
Yeah, so I had made a motion to remove this from the agenda. The motion was seconded, but we have not voted on the motion. And I just want to remind all board members that it is absolutely their prerogative to vote no, which, you know, in many ways would signal a respect for the professionals that we have here who are prepared for the meeting, which had been agreed upon by the parents prior to their arrival, and then they left. So I do just want to remind my board colleagues that we are absolutely welcome to vote no to this motion and to continue on regardless.
Trustee Nowinski.
Another question to that, though, then did our staff also leave expecting that this would be rescheduled?
Yes.
So both parties at this point have expected it's going to be rescheduled. Okay, thank you.
Trustee Rodriguez.
I don't want to vote no, but I want to be sure that we are doing the right thing for everybody. And that is my concern. If we can serve the parents and the students in different way than tonight, that is fine with me. But I want a plan or tell me we are going to have another meeting and we are going to have it for 3 to 6 and to have 5 board members here, fine. But I don't see any, if the parents already and the students and we are willing to satisfy them, then I will vote yes for that motion.
I'm going to ask the attorney a question. What do you recommend?
I can't provide legal advice until open session. Yeah. But I think your vice president stated it very clearly that she made a motion. There is a motion and a second on the table, and then each board member absolutely has a prerogative to vote as is their, as they believe is correct.
Okay. Trustees.
Before we move on to the motion of vote, there's 2 clarifying things I want to be subjective. One, that usually if we have a hearing and the parent or child is not present, before it gets to the board and it's dealt with Office and School of Culture, they do proceed with or without the parties. due to scheduling, staff, all the things. The second thing that I want to know is what I heard you say was they were here, they've been here a very long time, but they had a work schedule, and this meeting went over, and so they had to leave. And so hearing that part of it, I do have a integrity of wanting to support our families, making a living for their family, and if they had to leave. Second of that, I wonder two things, and this is something I can ask Superintendent Jessica. Did we know prior to this meeting that they had a time restraint? And then moving forward, if we didn't know, then maybe we just need to set a time where that's the first at the top of our agenda, so that we're honoring folks' time and being aware. And I think with the knowledge of we didn't know for sure, but they've been here for maybe 2 hours, and this is a learning curve at this point, we should give them the opportunity to be rescheduled, is what I'm leaning towards. But I want to hear the folks that had conversations in the back that I might not have missed.
So,
Yes, thank you. They arrived at 6. They stayed as late as they could. I was unaware that there was time constraints. We spoke with the family numerous times leading up to today, just as courtesy for a reminder of the meeting. And at no time did they share that, but I'm not sure our families understand the context of how board meetings work, with the agenda and all. Like, let's just say for the presentation, I mean, some presentations are 10 minutes, others are an hour. I mean, no one would really know that, especially our families, right? So it's hard to kind of give families a window other than an entire 3-hour, 4-hour window, and you have to wait and be available within that time frame. However, in this case, I don't think that it would work if you know the person works at night. They have to be at work regardless, and so that, I mean, they showed up, they attempted, and I think that that should be considered.
okay, so Trustee Kavanaugh, I saw your hand first, and Trustee Williams.
Yeah, I just wish to raise that our regular board meetings begin at 6 p.m. Today we had the special meeting that took place beforehand, so our regular board meeting began at 6:15 p.m. And so for families who have a scheduling conflict that begins at 6:30 p.m., there is simply no way, even were they to be at the top of the agenda, for that to fit within our regularly scheduled board meetings.
No. Trustee Williams?
I'm piggybacking on that too, because again, it sounds like they're still giving us a certain window of time of they can only be here between the hours of 3 and 6. If school was going, we wouldn't even be having this meeting until about this time, because students would be in school and staff would be doing what they need to do to prepare. And I watch our staff come in rushing between 5 and 5:30 trying to get in to get situated so we can start at 7 o'clock. And they were here, and they knew that while our meeting was going on, they could have signaled someone at the very beginning to say, we have to be out at this time. I want to provide, but I'm also a little on the fence to say no, because again, we're still being put in a position to say we can only operate in this window of time. Most of us have 8 to 5 jobs, 8 to 4 jobs. So we, you know, this is a unique situation, and it's like boxing everybody in, because now we are going to have to call another special meeting.
Well,
That's it.
okay, there's a motion on the table, so we're going to take a vote, and depending on the vote, we'll move on. Okay, you've heard the motion, heard discussion. Also in favor of the motion, say aye. You want a roll call? All right, that's fine. Roll call, please.
Dr. Kavanaugh?
No.
Mesa Lopez?
No.
Mesa Novisky?
Yes.
Dr. Rodriguez? Mrs. Strode?
forth.
No.
Ms. Williams?
Okay. Motion failed. Oh, it does not pass. We need to have 5. Motion fails? No. Y- Motion passes. No, it failed. Okay, so it failed. So now we're going to work on setting up a meeting.
No. It's still on the. Director Black, is there some way we can get a representative even on the phone, maybe?
No, they're at work.
President, maybe can make a different kind of motion.
Well, you can make a motion.
I don't know if it's going to be right or not, but you tell me. I move the points, Roman numbers 11 and 12, be postponed to another meeting as soon as possible with the parents and the board members.
Is there a second?
There is no motion, it's fine,
there's-
great. We
there's
have
a
to do it
motion.
now. Go ahead.
While we're entertaining the motion, I have a clarifying question. Before we vote on this new motion that is the same as the old motion but worded differently, one, if this was to happen today, we only have one staff member to speak to, and I don't think that's a fair representation without the rest of her staff that is here that could speak to this certain situation and particular thing. I think it would be completely unethical for us to try to call them on the phone to answer these questions. Now, if we could continue this and the staff was here and available, but it seems like they're not going to be able to be here. So can we confirm that they're not available?
They're not available.
And are you prepared to hold this without your staff? No. So I just want to make sure that we all are hearing that with integrity. The second piece is, oh, well, I thought it was a no because it took a minute. Okay. She thinking it through, which means probably not. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because that's not true. I know the case.
Mm-hmm.
What my concern is if a particular question is asked that only a public safety officer can answer.
Yeah.
Public safety officer is an eyewitness.
Right.
I am not.
Right.
However, I know the case very well.
And this wasn't to challenge your ability to know the case. I just know that for me, if I have staff that report to me and I have to speak to their work, but I didn't do their work and I didn't see their work, if I'm you, Cordelia, or Director Black, I'm going to say, no, I'm not doing this. And this, you don't have to answer, Jessica, you can answer for her if you like. I don't want to put anybody's staff in a position where they have to answer to decisions that they weren't there for. And then we don't have a witness to speak to it. So I'm just getting this out for integrity and clarity for our board, as well as Director Black. It wasn't at all diminished to say that you don't know how to answer the questions. It's just to protect you and your staff that aren't here to speak to it. And depending on our legal is here, if something is said or misrepresented, we don't want to be in an issue later with our family.
And if I may, I am here representing not only the staff, but the discipline panel who referred the case to the Board of Education for consideration of expulsion. I am very clear about what the rationale is for that recommendation. So I just, not only what I'm saying is I know the case, and I also know and clearly understand the rationale for the referral to the board for consideration.
Okay, there was,
I have one more question for Director Black. So needs to be here to support you, just like you said, if we have questions, how soon can they be available? Because again, I don't want to do another meeting, but I also, and I want everybody to be fairly treated. I mean, how soon, because then we have to work with the attorney and her schedule as well, too.
My staff can be here when I ask them to be here. They're at work every day.
Wait. There's a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Not if we don't know if her staff can get
I'm sorry? No.
No, if her staff can get here, then we can hold the meeting. If her staff cannot get here, that's going to depend on our ability to hold the meeting.
But we haven't, the motion is to,
But I don't want to vote yes if they can't come. And if I vote no and then they can come. I think that's important for us to know in the motion.
Good point.
She cannot, the staff cannot return this evening.
Got it. Thank you.
Mr. President, there was a question as to the admissibility of the motion. From my perspective as a parliamentarian, there's not currently a motion on the floor, so there's nothing
right,
to.
there was no second. Yeah.
Well, no, but in making the motion to postpone, there's nothing to postpone at this time. There's no motion. Postponing something is a motion. So the motion we already voted on was to change the agenda. The board, failed that motion. So until a motion comes forward, so until a hearing is conducted and there's some recommendation resulting from that hearing, there would be nothing to postpone at this point. So we can adjourn the meeting. We can wait for someone to reconsider or change a vote or something, but there's nothing to postpone at this point because there is no action item on the floor.
So, item number 11.
It has something to postpone. Postpone who was we were voting before.
No, it didn't pass.
My point is, the parents are asking, Mr. President, the parents are asking for an open session, what usually is not the normal. And I want to respect that for them. I am sure that we have these parents, this is not only one, I think it's two, right? Then I whatever we do, I think that the open session and respect the parents' decision is what this board should do.
Let me clarify this two discipline hearings are for the same family, okay? And one, well, just clarify. And the one hearing really is it's postponed.
There should potentially be two separate motions. One hearing not occur because the student is graduated.
Yeah. So, number 11?
Second hearing potentially will occur.
Okay. So, hearing for number 11, is that the one that it's graduated?
I don't think
Item number 11.
designated.
I'm sorry, that's what I'm asking, Cordelia.
I don't think, yes.
No, okay, so item 11 is mute, right? There's nothing to do with it because the student has graduated, but we still have to make a motion to remove it
Yes,
from the
but
agenda.
I think there's another discussion happening among your board members.
Mr. President, I think at this point, there's nothing for us to do. I think we can adjourn this meeting and we can reschedule it at this point. There's no motion on the floor. The first motion did not pass. So I think we can adjourn. We can adjourn this if you would be okay with it.
Well, what we need to do is just move to remove item number 11 because it's for the students already graduated.
It failed.
We cannot move.
It failed.
It's already
An
failed.
agenda is not something that's controlled by the Open Meetings Act, so let's, just issuing general statements of law.
Okay.
The Open Meetings Act does not require an agenda. An agenda is something that is set by your policy.
Oh, okay.
Your
See?
policy allows you as board president to add and remove items from the agenda before the meeting starts. And you can also, as your board members have noted, adjourn the meeting now without having completed all of the items on the agenda. We could write an agenda for a different meeting that simply only has one hearing.
We're adjourned. Thank you.